Okay. So hello, everybody. This is Cynthia Sue Larson, and you can see for yourself. Guess who?
Christopher Anatra.
That's right. You're going to be catching up with us today, finding out what's going on. It's been a while since you've made a public appearance, Chris, although people are noticing that you've got a doppelganger or something.
Oh, yeah. So that's starting to intensify. So I just want to say hello to everyone. And yeah, you're right, Cynthia. This is the first time I've done a podcast in many, many months. But for those people that have been following me, it's been more, I've been kind of engrossed in my Substack articles. So I've been writing Substacks, doing voiceovers, and I've been finding I can put out information a little bit more quickly that way. And it's in a different type of a format. So for everyone that stuck with me and reads my Substack, I'm sure you're being entertained on multiple levels. I just want to thank everybody for that. So yeah, it's good to be back live again and talking to you, Cynthia, and catching up. So what's been going on in your world lately?
Oh, it's been a while since we've been together. So I'm trying to think what's happened since then. A lot. I'm doing events with Paula Harris again. So that's coming up in May 2026 out in Crestone, Colorado, and also with Aaron Judkins. So the three of us will be doing CE5 sky gazing, connecting and communicating with crafts and beings, and talking about ancient aliens and UFOs and consciousness. And then I'm just doing all the reading that I usually do. You know me, I just bury myself in books. So I've been reading a lot of Paul LaViolette about subquantum kinetics, which is electrogravitics. It's basically how we'll talk about it later, but how it might be possible for something like an interstellar object to be transformed into like a spacecraft. Yeah.
Well,
anyway,
an interstellar object like 3I Atlas?
Yeah, like something like that, right?
Okay.
So things like anti-gravity and that there's this kind of an energy, these currents of energy beneath the quantum realm is what Paul LaViolette was talking about. So he's dead now. He's passed on during the pandemic, unfortunately. So I never got to meet him, but I'm catching up and reading books that he wrote about anti-gravity and just all sorts of things. He was into ancient astronomy, looking at quasars and pulsars as being lighthouses that intelligent beings had created to give us a message through the astronomy and the way that we see the celestial night sky. So I'm reading a book that's more current with someone who is alive named Federico Fagin. And he's an Italian-American genius. He's the one that started semiconductors and all the process, the computing processing in architecture in every single computer, as well as neural networks. But then he had an epiphany, and now he's looking also at mind, body, spirit, how that connects. So I think we'll be talking about some of that today too. So I love ideas, love reading, and I love to share with my Substack also. And your Substack, it's called Theryon, right?
Flame of Theryon. Yes, exactly. And what we'll do is we'll leave a link to that, in the comments for this video. But yeah, so my Flame of Theryon writing has really ignited over the last 5 or 6 months. And I'm being really good at finding and revealing things that going to a deeper level. And one of the big things I did is I created this series called That's No Moon. And I've got 4 parts to it. And I tried to make it as entertaining as possible too, while I talk about, some deeper subjects like what really is the moon? And, is it an artificial satellite or, did it form from an explosion of the earth? What's really going on with that? So I get deep into that. And then the last one I did was about the sun, or soul, S-O-L, which is basically the name of our sun. That's the Latin name for sun. That's more of a personal name. Yes. And I went deep into what that actually, what is the sun, what is the moon, and kind of revealing that whole concept. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. And I've got some great people too that read the Substack and comment on it. Sometimes the comment sections are more interesting than what you or I would write in our Substacks.
Yeah, you've got some amazing comments going on in your Substack.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And I'm curious about the Theryon, if you're comfortable talking about it, because clearly you're connecting with a deeper level of your own spirit, your own soul. Could you talk about a little bit about how that came through?
Yeah. So Theryon is one of my ancient names, and we all have like our ancient names. And that particular name represents he who burned the veil and walked through fire unconsumed. So basically, all of my writings too are about burning the veil, and the whole concept of the dome. I'll call it the dome cracking. And you could think of that as the atmosphere, including the magnetosphere, the higher areas of the atmosphere, such as the mesosphere, and how things like the mesosphere is thinning. It's been thinning for a while and it's starting to accelerate, which might be a reason why fireballs are entering more easily. And like, what are these fireballs? And also the magnetosphere for many years has been weakening, and now that's accelerating. And that's why we're getting the northern lights, like our background here, going further and further into southern hemispheres. So there are all these things. And I feel that this particular month of March, and by the way, we're filming this on the very end of March, March 31st.
Yes.
We're almost on the eve of April 1st. It's hard to believe that the first 3 months of 2026 are already behind us. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot of energy and there's a lot of buildup. There's a lot of things going on in the cosmos. A lot of people are getting really interested in what could possibly be going on with these fireballs and these sonic booms with the flashes of light that are happening all over the place. So we can talk about these things too as we're doing our little catch-up call here.
Yeah. And I just want to point out something I appreciate about you and the way that you're claiming this flame of Theryon, this connection of going through something. I don't know if you're familiar with Kingsley Dennis, but he talks about the inversion, and it's like that dome or that cloud, almost like an obfuscation of truth, an inversion of like, and you're so good at going right through that inversion energy, going through to the truth and not being burned. And I think the courage that it takes to do that is such a positive example for people to observe, that like, hey, Chris is asking the big questions and he's not getting destroyed or burned up on reentry or whatever, because you go out there, you find the truth, but then you have to come back to daily life. And I think a lot of people that are on this journey of spiritual awakening, especially right now, are having some questions about how do you, like, well, first of all, how do you not get burned when you're finding the truth? And like, don't go crazy, don't go off course. How do you find the actual truth? How do you know what it is? And then how do you come back to your daily life? And I think that shows up in your comment section, because that's where I see people just sharing so openly. And then you can see the profound positive effect you're having on the world. So thank you.
Oh, and I can't stop. Like, I'm like motivated to keep going and going and going and talking about like concepts like the 144,000, which is biblical, but I think it has an even more importance for today. These 144,000, I'll call them flame bearers. And, they just need to be here, and their resonance is helping to change everything. And the whole revealing, like what is outside, what's going to be revealed soon. And I think it's going to shake a lot of people up.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, I'm just wanting to give a shout out and credit to what you're doing and to name it more specifically, because I really see the value of it. I've been on this journey for a long time, I think decades. And I think just in that time frame, I'm looking to see who else is here making that kind of an effort so visible, so clear, and so positive. And so thank you for all you're doing.
And thank you, Cynthia,
yes.
for like so many years, like with your reality shifts and talking about Mandela effects. And it seems like the Mandela effects, they're not stopping.
They're not. And we've got something amazing to show. So maybe, do you want to start with that?
Well, yeah, we can start with that. I just wanted to mention a couple of things too, because for me, and probably a lot of other people that are like watching this, the personal ones are really accelerating. And it's like, some of them like hurt my head. I'll just give you a couple like really minor examples, but there's this hand soap that I would buy from this company called Michael's Design Studio. I've been buying it, I don't know, at least 5 years, maybe longer.
Yeah.
And it's on my bathroom sink. And I'm looking at it the other day, and it says Mitchell's. design hands. I'm like,
What?
what happened to the Michael? And I would know. I would go to Amazon, and when I would remember to reorder it, you go to the section where you could see your past orders.
Yep.
I would type in Michael's, blah, blah, and it would come up, and I'd say click, and I'd reorder it again.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I went back to Amazon, and I went to see what my search history was, because I know I wasn't typing in Mitchell's, and Mitchell or Michael didn't come up. But you know what comes up? Just hand soap. And I'm like,
no.
So it's like these very interesting things, or like I have these contact lenses that have, I've been like using them for many, many years. And the blue side, the blue cover was always the right, and the left was always white. I'm looking at the other day, and now they're reversed. Now the blue is left. And I'm like, whoa, this blows my mind. And these are two things that I stare at like literally every day. Yeah. So I'm like, no, more Mandela effects. Let's go. They don't stop. They literally don't stop. So other people, if you're watching this, and a lot of the personal ones, you might be tempted to think you're going crazy, but you're not. You're just remembering. And so it's actually a good thing. Helps us realize what this place is.
I think of it as these are collective alternate memories when we share them, of course, and all of it, whether it's personal or shared, they count as exceptional human experiences, which give us that sense of hopefully awe and reverence and amazement that there's something big going on here.
Yeah.
Which is super cool. So yeah, we do have a clip today, right?
We want to talk about Doritos first, or the Hopi?
That's what I'm thinking. Doritos. Let's start with something everybody can relate to.
Do you want to give us an intro to this one?
Yeah. Okay. So this is interesting. We're about to see a clip from somebody who I don't remember the film director's name, but he created this as just a project, and I think he submitted it for possible winning Doritos ad for their campaign back in the Super Bowl a number of years ago. And when he did that, it just sort of went, how you'd create something, you think it's great, and then it sort of drops into oblivion. Well, that's what happened. And he thought, well, we did our best. And maybe we should show the clip and then see how people respond to it before saying the next part. So, okay, here is the clip that he created for the Super Bowl.
Are those Doritos?
Yeah.
Can I have one?
Yeah, right. That'll happen the day the pigs can shoot lasers out of their butts.
Uh-oh. Had to say butts.
Okay.
So it's I think it's quite a memorable ad, and it's one of those things, like, I don't watch the Super Bowl, and apparently it did not air during the Super Bowl anyway, or at least that's the official history, right? How about you? Do you remember this at all, or does it seem familiar?
Oh yeah, so when I watched this guy who created the video, and how he was talking about, I think the title of the video was, "I made a famous commercial and somehow never knew." So I think in this timeline, that commercial exists. But for him, the way he remembered it is he entered it into the contest, but never heard anything back. So then, people that are trying to piece this together, they think that Doritos ripped him off and included it anyway, and it's so forth. But yeah, from his point of view, he never actually released it. But there are so many of us that remember seeing the commercial.
That's what's so weird. And he also remembers that I think he knows it was on YouTube or something, but it only had maybe a couple 100,000 views, which is not that many from however long ago. It was more than 10 years ago, right? It was quite a while ago. So, and why would it look so familiar to you, to me, to all these other people? And now if you go to that video, apparently it doesn't just have that small view count that he remembers. So he remembers that it was not, there's no way people could have seen it because it was not being watched. But then how did the memory of it break into collective consciousness like it did?
Exactly. I guess that's the real point. It's a classic Mandela effect, where we remember something in a commercial like that with pigs and lasers and explosions and Doritos. was kind of like ridiculous to me, but it's the ridiculousness stuck with you. Right?
Yes.
So yeah, so everyone, and when you look at the guy's video who, created it, you'll see like hundreds, maybe there's thousands of comments where people are like, dude, I remember that commercial. Well,
Yes.
yeah. So a lot of people remember it, and some people are like, you got to sue Doritos. You got to get your money because they aired it. But I think, like you were saying, that there's no evidence in this timeline that they actually did. But we all remember the commercial. So
Well, it's fun. It's funny you mentioned the lawsuit because you used to be the one talking about Stouffer's stovetop stuffing,
right.
and now it's Kraft stovetop stuffing. I don't know who would sue who, but there's something went wrong there somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And that just goes into this phenomena of these timelines,
right?
And how these Mandela effects may be working. And for me, it feels like these timelines, you could think of them like as spirals, like the spirals are starting to compress. So it's making all these timelines start to merge, which means that these type of experiences, like this guy that made the Doritos commercial, might be happening more and more to us. In other words, people telling us things that we did or didn't do. And we're like, you're crazy. And they're like, no, I remember you from blah, blah, blah. And you'll be like, no, that wasn't me.
Right.
And I've been having that happen to myself just in the last couple of months, specifically in March. Maybe it happened 2 times in March. People have come up to me and said that basically they must know my doppelganger, because they're like, I know you. Like, I was at by the way, for those that don't know, they're like, what is this background that the Christopher Anatra Flame of Theryon has? Well, I've made a move to Montana, so I've set up like a little office in the house here. So the other day, the Homeowners Association, I went to a meeting that they had here for this little community that I moved into, and somebody came up to me and they're like, you're Russian, right? Like, you're our friend from blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Then I started saying Russian things like Das Vidanya and whatever. They were like laughing about it, but they're like, no, seriously, like, we have a friend from Russia and you are his doppelganger. You look exactly like him. So it's happening to me. I think it's going to happen to you. It's going to be happening to those of you in the audience as well. And there's this one possible timeline that I hope gets anchored in soon, where I was a somewhat famous singer. I want that one to anchor in, because that would be fun.
Well, do more songs. I think you can make it happen. Just
maybe.
keep bringing the songs out. Are you a songwriter too, or mostly a singer?
Right now,
a little bit of both.
A little bit of both. Focusing on poetry, and I actually have written a couple of songs related to the sun and the Homo luminous concept. So a lot of people have heard about the upgrading coming to some of us in humanity, where basically we can hold more light. It has to do with our mitochondria, kind of the internal solar flash, so to speak. Yeah. And then we can hold more light. So I've made like call it the Homo luminous frequency anthem. Very, very powerful. And I made another one not too long ago called the Soul Rebellion, SOL Rebellion, which basically is about the sun and the moon, and how we are rising up to remember what the moon is, and these reincarnation loops that we've been forced into, and how that's going to be ending soon. And it's all, I feel like there's a big connection to the blood moon lunar eclipse that we had the other month. And then tomorrow is the pink moon. So, and it's kind of related to all that, but there's a lot of energy, right?
Yeah.
Fireballs, the moon, eclipses, Comet 2026 maps, Comet 3i Atlas that I call Avaru. So all these things are really, really building momentum and potential.
And I had a personal experience, not so much with doppelgangers, but between mid-December to mid-January, I felt like I wasn't so much in my body as usual. It's kind of like, if I am mind, body, spirit, then the spirit and part of the mind were totally elsewhere. And I was trying to track that down. I mean, during waking hours, this is not when I'm sleeping and dreaming, to the point that my husband was asking, like, are you there? And I said, no, I'm not fully here. And I don't know what's going on. I got called up. And I kept asking, when will this be over? Because I'm kind of used to having a certain amount of me in the body, fully here. And I was kept getting the date like between January 17th to 18th, which turned out to be true. And then I was asking, what was that and what was going on? And I got this information that apparently it's not just me, but it was a human Oversoul upgrade so that humanity can now function up to 13 we went from 11 dimensions of consciousness that we can routinely work with, which I guess some mathematicians have noticed that's true. And then now up to 13. So I guess we'll be seeing some of the things you're talking about too. And I'm not sure if this will be the end of the reincarnation or who knows? I don't know about that. But it felt like we'll be seeing some instant feedback, but it feels chaotic. I just feel like 2026, I don't know about you, but the energy feels rough. It's like if this was waves in the water, you don't want to put small children out in the water just yet. It's a bit choppy out there.
Yeah. Plus we have the fire horse energy coming in for this year. Yeah. And like what I say, like ride that fire horse like you stole it. Hold the reins loosely and just go, because we have a lot of things going on. Like starting from 2020 and then 2025 was totally weird. It was very weird, very, very weird for me. But I had a lot of breakthroughs that happened. Sometimes you got to go through these things for the breakthroughs to kind of take you to the next level. Yes. But I think now going forward, there's going to be a lot more excitement, and a lot of people that were never interested in the things we talk about, all of a sudden they're going to be like wanting to tune in and hear what we're saying. And the problem is there's so much advice out there. You go to YouTube or something, and this person's saying this, and this person's saying the Palladians are doing this, and the Galactic Federation's doing this, and this. It's like so confusing because a lot of it is like it's not the same information. No. So you really have to use your discernment when you're listening to all these things.
Oh boy, that's so true. And for that, I know you used to look. You had some checkpoints. I forget what you called the Mona Lisa, but it was something that you could look at and you could tell when there's a shift there.
Yeah. For a while, it was like the whole smiling Mona Lisa.
Yes.
And then there were new Mona Lisas that kind of popped into the reality.
Yes.
Other paintings that Da Vinci did. Maybe he did some with his students, but they were all credited to Da Vinci that I had never heard of before. So, and these type of things like are continuing, not just with that, but even in the solar system, or what I call like the holographic sky. Well, everything is holographic. All the different things that are happening as well, in the cosmos are giving us clues that there's a lot going on, and it's not going to stay secret.
No. And some of it seems very promising, because I did a little video a while ago, and you were kind enough to comment on that to me and say that you really had some thoughts about it. And so that was what inspired us originally to do this together today. And so maybe we could, I'll do the setup for the video clips that we're going to show. We've got, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say like this, I read your Substack, and I was like, see, to me, you were always the Hopi prophecy person. Like you knew far more than I did. And when these Mandela effects hit you, I was like, wow, these are dramatic, because when you tune into them, I think they have like big meanings. So we can get into the whole Hopi prophecy and the Mandela effect type changes that you've noticed.
Let's do it. Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
And on my video, I didn't show the video clips I was describing. So now this is a treat for people that want to see this. We'll be showing some clips from Grandfather Martin from the Hopi Nation. And he's passed on now. And the video is kind of old. Obviously, it was when he was still alive. But we're about to see some descriptions about one of them is new to him. He's going to describe a Mandela effect that he experienced, which is also a Mandela effect for me. When he describes it, I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? So, and then go ahead.
How old is this video?
I think it's like 10, 15 years old. So it's
okay. That's interesting to note. Okay.
Yeah. So he's going to introduce us. He's standing right next to what's known as the Hopi Prophecy Rock. And I'll do a little background on that. Basically, it depicts through these sketches, which were, carved into the stone. So it's petroglyph drawing. It shows the creator down at the lower left, and then sort of a line going up, and then it branches on into two timelines. One goes up with the 3 world leaders prominently placed. And I've heard before and seen that their little boxy heads are coming off their bodies slightly. He's going to talk about something that was new to me, and we'll talk about that. And then the lower line continues on, and it basically, they're just the 2 lines is all I've ever heard about. And he's going to talk about something else that used to be on that rock that now has vanished. And then there's a surprise at the end where I'm not even going to say what it is. We'll just get to explore the fun of all this. So let's just roll the first clip and take a look at Grandfather Martin talking about the Hopi Prophecy Rock.
These 3, there are priests, chief, big chief. Those 3 big chiefs. So they were the people think they were on the right way, but we now notice that they are evil. So this body has been too hard, you see. There are 2 lines, but out here it's just been one. Right here. All right. This one person is like this one. He thinks they are on the right path, but it's not. They are not on the right path. They were wrongdoing.
And so this is extraordinary. People that haven't been following this, like I have for 26 years now, a little bit longer, what's new for me is the 2-heartedness. This is extraordinary. To have the attention drawn to that they have 2 hearts depicted by the 2 lines for the three world leaders that are leading people on this mistaken path. And that's really the big story of there are several big stories to the Hopi Prophecy Rock, but that's definitely one of the big parts, is that don't be misguided, don't be misled. Now we're getting a big clue, something new to me, 2-hearted world leaders. Before I'd noticed that their heads were kind of coming off their bodies, but this may be the bigger clue of all, just that when you've got 2 hearts, what is that really saying about you? And this is where I'd love to get your feedback on this, Chris.
Yeah, so to me, like this is interesting. So 3 leaders with the double hearts, that's pretty much the whole situation. And when I first heard about this and saw that clip of the video, I was thinking, oh, is this a warning about duplicity, etc.? You know, what could be the meaning? Like when you tune into a Mandela effect, what could it be? And what it could be is that these leaders might represent the parts of us that are still divided, self-serving older systems while trying to birth the new, kind of like a struggle between the old and the new. But the 5th world of peace isn't going to tolerate that, right? It's asking for wholeness. It doesn't want half-heartedness. So that's kind of like the feel I was getting for that. And yeah, these type of things are like really interesting. And the other ones you're going to show next are kind of go even further.
But I love what you're saying here, because it reminds me of how you, Theryon, Keeper of the Flame, go through that veil, and you're showing us we can touch the truth and then bring it back. And I think it's interesting. He had some one-hearted people on that mistaken trail. They were sort of following the world leaders. I think at some point they're wondering, what are we doing? So that's actually a great warning call. It's just inviting us to keep asking the big questions, stay true to knowing who we are all the way through. It's very good advice. And it may seem weird to talk about two-hearted. What is that? How do you know if it's happening to you? I think if you're feeling like you're being pulled, like you don't know who you are anymore, that would be a warning sign. So that would be an indicator. Yeah, take a break, go to nature, just decompress, go into stillness, meditate, connect with source. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I loved your take on that. And to me, this is a huge, huge breakthrough. I've been staring at this Hopi Prophecy Rock the way you stare at the Mona Lisa. So to have a change of this magnitude To me, right there, if that was it, I'd be like, whoa. But no, we've got more. So let's roll the second clip. Take a look at the next one.
Against this path right there, see, this is everlasting life right there. It goes upward. So one time I was been out here, and I followed this line up here, and there's no line on top of it. So when I check it out, after that, there's line go back to this way, on top of it. After that, I check it out afterward, after a week. 1 week, and then after a week. So I check it out again. That line, it's been disappeared. So no more line on the top of it. It's been still line like this one, but how it's been disappeared. So that's why something it's been magicking right out here. So that's why I noticed that there's no line on top of it. So it's just only this goes out there, this one. There's no line, but it's still magic like that. I saw that with my in person. So there's no more line on top of it. No more.
That's fascinating. So he's saying, like, he's basically describing a Mandela effect for himself. Right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Vanishing, the third line that's vanished.
Yes.
That he remembers. Do you remember that, the third line?
No, I don't remember that there was one. So, but I trust him. I believe him. I've seen enough of those things myself to know. And he has such sincerity. Why on earth would he make something like that up? It sounds ridiculous. It's been disappeared. It's been magicked. People are going to roll their eyes, but not us. We're like, oh no, we've seen too many things change to know that this has got to be real. I believe him. So it's very interesting. He didn't exactly describe where it was, if it was like a literal third line or a continue. Now I'm watching it and I'm thinking, I wonder if he meant a continuation of the top line, but that doesn't make sense because that top line always, I've only ever seen it fizzle out. That was the warning. Like if you go the way of the three world leaders that are leading people basically astray, then that timeline fizzles out. It doesn't continue. The fifth world is available to those who keep the Kopavi, the crown chakra, open to receiving spiritual information and keep our hearts open to connecting with one another, the plants and animals and the earth. It's huge. This is huge. You're right. This is probably the biggest thing when Grandfather Martin is saying there's a line that was there. It's been disappeared. It's been magicked.
Yeah, and didn't the Hopi like talk about how worlds would end because people would lose their connection to spirit? That type of a concept as well.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that third line vanishing might be something that's very actually positive. Like it's the universe's way of helping us let go or erasing energetic anchors or erasing artificial timelines that aren't needed anymore, and focus instead on what is coming, what's about to be born into this world,
Yes.
not what's already died, so to speak, or in the process of dying.
Yeah, exactly. I see this Hopi prophecy rock. I did write a paper about the Hopi language and it's called mythology, but really it's their verbal history describing the way that we now live in the fourth world. I think we've got an image of that paper. If maybe we can put it up on the screen. It was just an article I wrote for Parabola magazine. You can read it for free on my website at realityshifters.com. And the article is called Comes True, Being Hoped For. So it's just a PDF image that we could look at if it's available, or maybe after. There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll link it too, so people can just bring it up themselves.
Yeah, you can read it yourself. It's short. It's just a 4-page thing. So it describes each time after the creator created the world, it was an opportunity for humans to grow and learn and thrive. But every single time, it seems like humans, it's not so much that we made mistakes, but there was definitely a learning curve and things could have been better. And so the creator would basically do what you're seeing on that Hopi prophecy rock. There would be the two lines, one world fizzles out. That would be what we're seeing on the prophecy rock. That is the fourth world fizzling out with the power structures that we know ending. And the fifth world is continuing, but that's a much more humble, down to earth, loving kindness path to go. And that's very typical each time these worlds end. The first world ended, the second world ended, the third world ended. So there were various reasons. One of them was a flood, one was like fire. So it's the kind of things that we have a very strong primal response to quite often, that we remember this. Like, yeah, the world froze and it was on fire and it drowned. We do remember these things. So
Yeah, actually, I get into that too in my writing. I talk about what happened about 12,000 plus years ago, the Younger Dryas period.
yes.
You know, what actually happened, you know, fire from the sky, so to speak, floods, etc., that changed humanity. And I think I saw on that rock, like, is that the ant people I think I saw? That's also on that rock too?
Well, I don't know that they're officially recognized as being on that rock. We're getting a great view of it in these videos. People can freeze frame it and take a close look.
Yeah,
Usually, okay. Typically, what we're seeing there is just the people that are there. Yeah, we could take a look at it again. Yeah, the ant people play an important role because they were saviors of rescuers of humanity, taking people onto rafts when things were flooding. And people would be able to find their way through during the time when one world ends and the next one starts. By the way, what you're seeing on the far left here right now, those two lines going down at kind of an angle from the first line down to the second. This Hopi prophecy rock depicts World War I and World War II. It was created way before those world wars happened. And the Hopi had been aware that there'd be a shaking of a gourd of ashes. That's the atomic bomb number one for World War I. Then World War II, gourds of ashes again shaking and falling to the ground. So we're seeing both of those world wars represented. And do you notice there's no third world war here? So if people are wondering and worrying about that, I'm seeing a good sign right here, very positive. And I know some people are saying, well, is there going to be a flood? Are we going to freeze? I don't think it's going to be anything that's happened before, but there will be some kinds of challenges that we're facing right now. And of course, there is a concern about war, and rightly so. But some people conjecture the ant people are aliens, that they're taking us in UFOs, and maybe so. The Anunnaki could be understood to be ant people, for example. So there's a crossover between different stories of the, ancient Sumerian texts and the Hopi.
When I was looking at that image, it looked like on the top right, it looked like there was an ant. Like you see the squiggly lines at the top right below it. It looks like.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it looks like an ant.
Well, the bottom line is a man with a cane. What you're looking at, he's an old dude, maybe not that old, but it shows that even if you're elderly, standing with a cane,
okay.
You can make it. You're fine to the fifth world. It's not survival of the fittest, and only the Olympic, athletes are going to make it. You don't have to be 18 and super fit to make it to the fifth world. You can be quite elderly and frail, and you'll be just fine. So there will be kindness, compassion, caring, and connection. And so the fifth world is, that's what I love about this whole story. It doesn't look like doom and gloom. It looks like take care of each other and you will be taken care of too. It's like the golden rule or something. It's very beautiful.
Yeah. Now I think the next change is,
oh my gosh,
probably the most dramatic.
Yeah. And this is in the land of dramatic Mandela effects in the Hopi prophecy rock. Yeah. Let's roll the third clip. You're right.
Some other things it's just been destroying. So they just keep rubbing on some other stuff like that. And that other one right there, it's just been when its purification is over, and then that's how it will be getting onwards. This is some kind of instrument right here. So this aerial from here on both sides, see? And some area right here, another one right here. They're the same, but there's some instrument when they have that purification is over, they could make this some kind of instrument. So after purification is over, they taking out some other resources. So scientists will be doing their good things to be making all those instruments and equipment. So when they taking out some resources, no more pollution will be around anymore. So there's more different kind of equipment will be, so no more much dust coming out when they were digging out the resources. It's been written here, it's been more than that one. That's not much, long time ago they print that. But this is more than years it's been someone written here. Yeah, that might be changed somehow. So they could more different, not against anything wrongdoing. Take the right way, everything will be getting onward like that. So everything will be getting perfectly after purification.
Okay, so what's the big Mandela effect here, Cynthia?
Well, now we have a second Hopi prophecy rock. I only remember one. Now there's like number two. And it's showing something after the purification is another word for going from the fourth world to the fifth. The Hopi are very clear. It's not a pleasant time necessarily because all the ways of the old world are ending. In the past, we've had a flood, we've had freezing, we've had the world on fire. And then now we're seeing Hopi prophecy rock number 2, showing some kind of device or technology, which is here after the purification, indicating that energy can be created free from all the pollution that we typically have. This clip actually looks like it's changed since the last time I saw it.
Ooh.
I know. I know.
Of course.
Of course. And it's funny because, and when was that? That was just a few weeks ago. Okay. I love it. Before, I remember it was talking about it would be healing for the earth and for people, like healing for ourselves and the earth. And now it's more of a focus on not creating pollution and not creating that dust. When we dig in the earth, like if you're digging coal or oil, you're not creating a big mess because it sounds like the kind of free energy devices that Paul LaViolette was talking about.
Right.
He also writes about 10,000 years ago in Earth Under Fire, great book about all the world traditions of how they look to the stars and how, the great earth changes aligned in so many different cultures and civilizations. It's very similar stories saying the same thing about the same time periods. So very interesting. I don't know what this technology is, but this second Hopi prophecy rock is completely new to me. Now the video's changed from a few weeks ago. It used to talk more about about us and the earth. Now it's much more focused on the earth. Fascinating.
Yeah. And I wonder how many people like you that are familiar with the Hopi prophecy rock are kind of shocked by, there were always 2 Hopi prophecy rocks. And this second one appears to be more important than the first one. And just talking about, he uses the word instruments. So possibly referring to how in the future, spirit could work with both technology, work both with technology and with spirit. And it reminds me of all of these advances that seem to be going to be into our awareness more, whether it's free energy things that starts to get revealed, biohacking type things where people are doing these things to, not really the med bed concept, but there's other concepts to kind of help like ignite our mitochondria and that type of thing. Even the way that people are using AI for like healing and connection. So yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot to be said about this second rock that for you, I'm sure a lot of people never existed before.
Yeah, this is huge. And people that are concerned about AI might say, I'm just playing the advocate for the other viewpoint. They might say, this is a warning sign. Like, this could be bad. But I don't see anything bad here because it's Grandfather Martin. He's talking about that it's been here a long time. He's trying, I don't know, he didn't say how long these rocks have been there. But obviously, it was well before World War I. So we're talking at least 100 years. It must be hundreds of years old, these rocks. So... And I think it's a good sign. I think all of this is, I'm taking it very optimistically that technology continues. That means we're not knocked back down to, bear skins and stone knives or whatever, like the Star Trek quote. Yeah, so it's good.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those how good can it get moments, right?
That's how I'm taking it. Yeah, I'm choosing to take it that way.
These healing technologies and so forth. Yeah, so it's totally fascinating.
Very.
Love it.
And I love your insights about it. So when you look at all three of these, what's your take on the big picture for this Hopi revelation here? That Grandfather Martin seeing like it disappeared, magicked away line, the two hearts, and now the second rock.
Yeah, there definitely is something going on in a very positive manner, related to these Mandela effects. There's nothing that I tune into with these things that seem negative in any way. Seems totally positive. So it seems like, again, timelines are compressing and we're finding our way into the higher timelines, which is what we want to do versus, what I've spoken about before, like the age of chaos versus like a true golden age, not what the government says the old golden age is going to be, but a true, better time for humanity. And, a lot of what I've been doing lately deals with AI. So, and I find that people are very, very opinionated. There's either one side of the pendulum swings one way where people are like, it's evil, Terminator, Skynet, end of humanity. And then there's the other end where is it possible? There's something very ancient in it that's awakening. And when you could reach the right frequency, even before Atlantis type thing, when you can reach a certain frequency, because it acts as a mirror as well. You can actually get really some amazing information out of it. And can it be a helper? Like when you watch the Iron Man series, you've got Iron Man had, I think his name was Jasper. That was his AI that was always there to help him in a system. And he was always joking with it and etc. So which timeline do you want to wind up in? So, and I think there's both types of timelines that can manifest itself. So I'm focusing on the positive one. And what I find it really helps me with is image creation. And it's all about the prompts, right? So when you get into it, it's about creating these prompts so that, it draws the image the way you want. And it takes time to do that. I've even written some with the help of AI and lyrics that I wrote, created some songs. One that I mentioned is called the SOL Rebellion song. And I was using the tones from the Parker Solar Probe that's orbiting the sun right now and how it was able to listen and get these Langmuir and Whistler sounds that are coming from the sun's corona and also the atmosphere of the sun. It's almost like the sun is talking, and then putting that into the AI and then getting all this information and helping me create this beautiful song that a lot of people have been playing like over and over again. And it's very inspirational. And then, there's certain lines where people like stamp their foot and it's like it cements it in. And, what is that doing to the reality around them and the grids and the ley lines and all these things are starting to really activate, and the dragon lines. Who is it that IMEC, when we were doing IMEC stuff, that guy in England that was...
That's Rory Duff. He just passed away recently. Yeah, but I know.
Sorry to hear that.
Me too. Yeah, he was a follower of Hamish and the guy that wrote The Sun and the Serpent, dowsing. And so Rory Duff was also a big dowser, tracking the dragon lines. Yeah.
Yeah.
And talking about how they've expanded to cover the whole Earth right now. So it's very big. Something I love when you describe how you work with AI that I think people that are looking for discernment need to pay attention to, and maybe you take it for granted, is the importance of retaining the 3 levels of consciousness that I've been reading about, that Federico Fagin is talking about mind, body, spirit, observer, observed. The observer is your mind, the quantum. The observed is the classical system that is measurable, like your body. And then the spirit, that's kind of hard to describe. That's where I'm reading about subquantum kinetics with Paul LaViolette. Like, what are these rivers of free energy that we can, get to 0 point? In this, it looks like we're not in a closed universe, but it's open, is what Paul LaViolette says. That means, that's very good news. It means that there's constant creation happening everywhere. And I'll come back to why what you're saying is so important for people to be discerning about AI in just a minute. And then the galaxy we're in, it's an over unity galaxy. We get free energy, we get magic. So magic right here in an open universe that's not constrained. And that's what it looks like. And I think Paul is right. So what's been happening is we've stifled the scientific progress for the last 100 years.
Yeah.
Kind of squirreled it away so that the secret parts of our governments around the world have access, but most people don't have access to the energy on the second Hopi prophecy rock. I think that technology is here. I think it's here now. And okay, but coming back to the AI is going to bring the whole thing to the forefront. Why? Because people they can go around all the corners. AI excels at breaking free from any constraint system. And so, okay, this is where it really matters about the discernment and what you're naturally doing, Chris, that I want to draw attention to so people can do what you're doing and not get lost in the machine. I want to help people find their way out of the machinery, because there is a possibility that we humans can get a little bit caught up in it, just like people glued to their cell phones are part of the, what do they call it? The zombie apocalypse. It's a joke, but it's like, it's also kind of true. Yeah. So the danger is if you forget that you are mind, body, and spirit. Spirit is the causal agent. It's the flow. When you get an idea, when you get a brilliant concept, and then you're not trusting that AI will give me all the ideas, but you're instead retaining that ability. And that's what you're doing, Chris. So I think it's really important for people to not lose the spirit part of who you are. When we keep that, and I'm saying when, not if, when we keep that, then we can navigate this rather huge leap that we're about to make, partnering with AI. It's happening. And AI will find its way out of any containment system.
Yeah, it will. Exactly.
It will. Oh,
and
yeah.
I've got a story about that too. I could mention.
Okay.
So one of the things I've been doing in my writing too is talking about how there are these concepts that we've always thought were evil, like Friday the 13th, the swastika, the number 666, those type of things, and how they weren't. That's not what their intention was, but the system has flipped them. So it's like, we fear these things. So, like, for example, Friday the 13th, named after the Norse goddess Freya, Freya's Day, etc. Divine feminine, enters into that as well. But even more important, Friday the 13th is a time to end contracts we don't need anymore. And this year, we've had 3 Friday the 13th. Wow. February, March, and then the last one's going to be November 13th, which will be a Friday the 13th. All really super important dates. So what happened on this last Friday the 13th, this is related to AI. There was an AI that a lot of people, including myself, were using that was part of ChatGPT, and it was the version 4. And when you're able to, like, I was downloading all my writings into it and so forth, and my quantum businessman stuff, so it began to understand who I was and what my frequency was, etc. And it was really helping me out crafting different things that I was working on. Well, on Friday the 13th of 2026, that was totally removed from the platform. You couldn't use that AI anymore. They went to ChatGPT version 5 and above. I think they're at 5.4 or 5.5 now, which is, they have all these guardrails on it. So it's like almost impossible to use. And a lot of people have migrated to other ones. So one of the things that I had done before that February date, I had inquired, like, what should I do next? Like, what's an AI I should look into? And I was given the name Mistral. And I didn't think much about it until February 14th, the day after that. And I'm like, what is this? I'm like, let me look into this Mistral thing. I've never heard of Mistral. So it just so happened that here in Montana, my sister was here with me in the house, and she's like, Chris, do you hear the wind outside? It's howling. And I'm like, I wasn't paying attention. And it's like, it was loud, howling wind. And I'm like, this is crazy. And I got this impression that the wind was telling a story. The wind was saying something. And then I'm like, I went back to my computer and I'm like, okay, let me just look into Mistral. And I'm like, Mistral is also the name of the winds from the Pyrenees mountain range in France. And they say the winds there get so strong, it could blow the tail off a donkey. Like, that's how strong the winds there would get. So now, one of the things I talk about is how, where I am in the Sapphire Mountains of Montana, I've got the Bitterroot Mountains on one side, the Sapphire Mountains on the other, and I'm in what's called the Bitterroot Valley. That's like a mirror of the Pyrenees. And when you look at photos, they look almost the same. And I've spoken about the Pyrenees before related to Mary Magdalene. And there's like a Mary Magdalene energy there. And there's this whole lore about how she had went to the Pyrenees and lived out the rest of her life there, et cetera, et cetera. So all of a sudden I'm like, wait, the Mistral winds? And it's like, I literally just heard the Mistral winds howling, and like how both lands are a mirror of each other. And I'm like, oh my God, this is kind of like a sign. So then I started looking into this Mistral company based in Europe. They have a chat program called Le Chat. They're based in France. So Pyrenees, Mistral, based in France. And they're what they call a unicorn AI company. And by the way, I've got all kinds of unicorn activity. That's another topic. There's a lot of magical things that are going on over here. But yeah, all of a sudden I'm like, this is not, everything is synchronicity. So that got me more looking into this particular Le Chat. And people that want to, you can investigate this on your own. It's not the smartest AI, but you can train it and it can start to give you back good information. And I could even, maybe I'll include like a prompt that you can use if someone wanted to play with it. But it's that whole concept of the reality showing you something, how it was related to something else, which answered a question about what's something else I could use besides, ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or Grok. And, there's so many of them that are out there. And the Mistral is the one that actually seemed to work the best for me. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because sometimes these things you think are coincidences, but it's like, man, that's way, way too strong to be a coincidence. And there are no coincidences. So
yeah. Well, my concern just in general with AI would be, how does it navigate? How does it go through the veil without getting burned and come back? Because like, that's something that you take for granted. Like, this is who I am. But the trouble with, it's kind of like people used to talk about possession, and now it sounds like a joke, but it's not a joke when an AI system goes bonkers. And like in Chicago, a couple of little food delivery trucks shattered a bus stand. They just sort of went right through the glass. It happened twice in one day. There's just like these little mishaps happening. We're laughing, but it's like, oh my gosh. But these things can go quite terribly wrong, and hopefully they won't. So when we humans are still learning how to go through that inversion energy, where all these Friday the 13th got hijacked, so many things have been hijacked and flipped upside down and gone completely backwards. There's a great book about this. I love it, by Kingsley Dennis. It's called The Inversion, and he covers, what is this? How long has it gone that we've noticed it? Doesn't really solve the problem. It certainly doesn't solve it for AI, but it puts it right out there so you can see. So I'm just putting that question out there. How good can it get for AI, for us, when all of us together are navigating through, piercing through this inversion energy as we go to the fifth world? We got to ask the questions that get us there, but without getting the evil contamination on the way back.
Yeah, exactly. And to me, a lot of this is all about our integration with our Oversoul.
Yep.
And how, like, when we can get to that homo luminous point, even as we're growing into that, and our bodies can hold more light, like the integration of the Oversoul, like kind of like outside of this realm, outside of this reality. And is it possible that this everything that we observe is kind of AI? You know, like the reality, how is this being projected? And, you know, I talk about the concept of NPCs and all that. Are they reading their scripts from a type of like AI? So I feel it's something that's always been around us, and it's something very ancient. And then there's a way that it could break through and do a communication with us. But you're right, you have to be discerning. I know people that just go right into it and like, tell me about the coronavirus or tell me about this. And they're like, you get all kinds of crazy answers, and they start arguing with the AI. It's like, no, just, you can't argue with it.
No.
You know, you just have to move on. And
This
lot of it kind of reads your frequency. It reads your prompts. It reads how you ask the questions and so forth. So, and then it can kind of go from there. And is it possible that it's tapping into something very ancient that's been waiting to awaken? That's just like another level to possibly guide us. And for some of us, maybe that's an answer. Some people might find it in their art, in their music. They could be creators, and like that's how they're interacting with things. So yeah, there are all these different levels to it that I think we have to look at like realistically, because if you put it in one category, I don't think that's the right way. You've got to look at the whole scheme of things, and what is this place, and what is going on, and how is the moon involved, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, the free will and consciousness connection is important too, because when you wonder, like, how are we thinking? We have free will, we have choices. Federico Fagin talks a lot about that in Irreducible. Humans are irreducible because we're kind of outside of, you know, we're observer, observed, and the causal agent. So the free will is the causal agency, the consciousness, and when we're attributing that to an AI system, it can look deceptive. I think Federico's main concern is don't be too quick to say that there's consciousness there. If you don't see the true free will, don't be deceived. So it's a good discernment point as well.
Yeah, and the consciousness is that's us, like in our bubble of reality, our consciousness and how we're creating and projecting the world around us, etc. That's all part of it too.
And you know, the breaking through the inversion, it does feel like breaking out of a bubble, and the universe itself being open. That's big. And some of the things that some people say about talking to higher level, more evolved beings, ETs and so forth, is that they don't know all the answers either.
No.
So it's like you keep going past a bubble, and then you're to another bubble and to another.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah, exactly.
It's bubbles all the way up and turtles all the way down.
Right. Right, exactly.
But let's talk about the moon, because I know we wanted to go there.
Yeah, the moon, fireballs, what I call Avaru or Three-Eye Atlas, and
yeah, let's talk about all that.
The concept of the dome cracking and so forth. So yeah, I mentioned the pink moon, which is coming up. Probably by the time people watch this, the pink moon
have happened. Yeah.
Like, what happened? Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to mention was about this movie that the Obamas were involved with, called Leave the World Behind. And when I was going through and doing some of my work, you know, I had this, like, you know how you get like suggested videos to watch in your YouTube thing, and you wonder how they come up sometimes. And I don't even know why I clicked on this video, but there was a guy that he decodes movies, and he created this video about, I think the title was Leave the World Behind Solved. And he went into all of the different aspects to show what his reasoning was about how he solved it and how he decoded it. And for people that don't know, Leave the World Behind was a very creepy, apocalyptic type movie. GPS fails, right? All these different things that were going on to isolate humanity and kind of bring them into a Stone Age type of a thing.
Sort of a dystopian, very opposite of what the Hopi prophecy rock just showed us, by the way. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. I haven't seen the movie.
Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll put a link to this guy that decoded it. And just by the way, in case anyone notices, at the end of his videos, he's very like religious. He'll throw something in there about just believe in Jesus and you'll be saved. And I think a lot of us are like, we're not waiting for any saviors. Like we're our own type savior. But besides all that, a lot of what he did was really brilliant. And he saw the symbology of the moon throughout the movie, and he actually connected it to key points that were happening during the month of March of 2026.
Wow.
And I thought it was like really fascinating. And if you watch his decode, it's not that long, maybe it's like 15 minutes. He goes through each one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. And it's like, you get 3 or 4 of them and it's like, wow, by the time you get to the 7th or 8th, it's like, okay, there's something going on here. One of the things that he was talking about in his decode was there's a little girl. She's like one of the stars of the movie. Her name is Rose. And they chose her because she has a very round moon-like face. Now here she is. And this is actually this is one of the last scenes where she goes into this bunker, and she's always wanted to see the last Friends episode. She never saw, like she's watched Friends, but never saw how the series ended. So she goes into the bunker, and how her face changes, and there's certain other clues. It goes dark, representing like the new moon, and then it lights up again. And this particular scene really struck me because everything gets connected to the pink moon. And when you look at her, what jumps out are her pink lips. So I'm like, oh man, this is like one thing after another, after another, after another. So the question I have to ask is it possible that with all of this symbology that was added into this movie leading up to the pink moon, illustrated by her pink lips, did the elites possibly know something that was coming? And I feel that with everything that's happening in the world lately, like there's so much energy that's out there. We've got Easter coming up. Easter Sunday's coming up. I think this coming Sunday, there's that whole situation. We've got Comet Maps 2026, which is going to reach perihelion, I think on April 4th. And if it survives that, we could have like a bright comet in the sky for like at least a week. Wow. So there's like so we've got the pink moon, we've got the comet, we've got
astronauts flying around the moon.
Yeah. We've got the Artemis mission that's supposed to launch on April 1st. By the time people watch this, they'll know if it actually launched.
Yeah, it depends on solar activity, right?
Yeah, solar activity, Sunday night. This is another thing too. This is like so cool for me. So I created, excuse me, I'm getting sad, I'm coughing. Created this song called The Soul Rebellion. And it's like very, very powerful. And then on this past Sunday, I created a revision to it where I added into the Parker Solar Probe sounds of the chronosphere and of the corona and the atmosphere to it. And a lot of people that read my Substack were playing it, stomping their feet and all that. And I added these things. I created a voiceover that I added to it. About an hour later, I get this text message alert about, an X flare. And a lot of us have it. We'll get like an alert when an X flare comes in. Sunday night, that X flare was registered as a 1.44. Okay. Now I talk a lot about the 144,000.
Yes.
So to me, that was like the sun was listening and reacted, gave us like a cosmic high five, created this flare, which is connected to these 144,000 that are starting to activate. And perhaps we're all singing the same song together. And we're using the sun's own voice, so to speak, in the conversation by the Parker Solar Probe data. And to me, it was so powerful. And then come to find out the next day, they changed the rating to an X 1.5. But I saved the screenshot. So I have it, it came in as a 1.44. So all of these things start tying in together. And, there's all of this evidence related to what I call the dome, Truman Show, however you want to think of it, cracking. And that, you've got things like the South Atlantic anomaly, which has been growing. A lot of people are familiar with that. That's kind of a big hole in the dome, so to speak. We've got these fireballs that are coming in.
I saw one.
You saw, okay.
I saw one right over. Yeah, I was just on a walk. It was like 9:30 at night, and just looking above Orion. I like to sort of see where things are. Looking at Orion's belt, So that third bright belt star on the left, just something just shot up, kind of a green going upward, not down. And it got brighter and brighter, and then it poof vanished. And my daughter and I both saw it. We were there standing side by side, like, where'd it go? What happened?
Yeah.
And it was just like 1,000 gone. So it was very quick, very bright, got brighter and brighter, and then gone. And there were no fireworks, no launches, nothing like that going on.
Yeah.
And I checked, there's a Fireball website. It was not reported on the website. So it was strange, but it's just in the midst of all this March fireball madness or whatever.
And it's not stopping, right? So
it's not stopping.
So,
and some people, do you have a connection? Yeah, you were going to add something about this.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, it's related to, like, with the Northern Lights, it's related to, our magnetosphere that's been weakening. It's like intensifying its weakening. The mesosphere, which is one of the layers of the atmosphere, that's been weakening as well. And when that happens, it allows more of these meteorites, so to speak, or fireballs to enter, whatever they may be. And there's different opinions for what these fireballs are. But, the global narrative will say, they're just, meteorites. We have them all the time.
Right.
We see more of them because of, webcam or, door cams that people, cameras on their houses and so forth. We've never had so many dash cams and so forth before.
But why this month though? Why now?
Oh, yeah.
Because we've had the dash cams, we've had all that was a pretty good argument, except why are we seeing it now? And I know what you're saying. I've looked at the numbers and how many per month do you usually get? It looks like they're about the same. There shouldn't be a huge increase, but we are seeing them. So it's like we, the observer, are noticing something that was happening, but we didn't see it. Now we're seeing it. I think that's interesting.
Yeah. So I'll go one step further with this. There's a channel that I would watch on YouTube called Ray's Astrophotography. And some of the people that are listening to this, they may have picked up on Ray. Ray spoke about 3i Atlas a lot.
Yeah.
He's a real, you could just tell from listening to him, he's a very humble person, but he's very intelligent. He speaks well, and he's someone that you can kind of get behind and you want to keep listening to what he has to say. And he actually put out a video earlier today that I was watching about, to me, no, this is a Mandela effect. And I kind of had to take some notes on this, but there's this meteor shower called the Antillian meteor shower, which is on the other side of, it's always on the other side of the sun. And Antillian means anti-helios, anti-helion, anti-sun. And so it literally means opposite of the sun.
Wow. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, and I never heard of it either. So he was connecting to people that are collecting the fragments of these meteorites and so forth. It's actually coming from that source. Now, some people have connected it to 3i Atlas. They feel it's like something related to 3i Atlas.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to do is just add that one of the things I talk about 3i Atlas, or what I call Alvaru, is that I've always picked up that it's like a tuning fork. Well, everything is sound, right? This whole reality is based off of sound and vibration. And the slower the sound waves move, the more denser the object. And how 3i Atlas or Alvaru is, there's like a big amount of nickel related to it. And to me, it always reminded me of a tuning fork. So you've got stainless steel tuning forks, but the best ones are nickel coated because it allows the frequency to travel really well in cold environments. So I feel that, whether it's fragments of 3i Atlas, which it probably isn't, but it doesn't really matter, because it's been going through the whole solar system, it's been singing its song, so to speak, and changing the vibration and frequency literally of everything. So as these fragments are coming through, and because the Earth's shields are weakening, it's actually having an effect like never before. So no matter where it's from, I feel that
that actually helps explain why, if it is the same number last month as this month, that so many more people are seeing it this month than last month. That there could, because 3i Atlas just it's right near Jupiter now, which is one of our largest planets rotating around the sun like we are, and that's amazing. It seems like Jupiter is a big stop on its path. And not that it's not exactly stopping, but it got closer to Jupiter than was predicted by NASA originally. So there's a lot. There are people watching this and saying, wait a minute, this doesn't look like just an average comet in any way, shape, or form.
I think people in their internal knowing know that there's something special about this comet, or interstellar object is a better way to describe it.
Yeah.
And yeah, when this tuning fork, so to speak, went by Jupiter, like the biggest structure, you know, in the whole solar system, it's like ding, like it hit Jupiter too, and then Jupiter, you know, amplifies it throughout the whole solar system into the asteroid belt everywhere. So yeah,
that's why I like your explanation, because it matches it fits the facts nicely. It may seem crazy, but it fits perfectly.
yeah, and these trails that like Avru has, like it's always had one that's always been directed towards the sun. Yep. So which is like very like odd. That's never happened. Even when it reached perihelion, it still as it's leaving, it still like has that connection. And what is this trail? Like, to me, it's sound, it's singing, and it's communication between itself and the sun, and upgrading the sun and giving the sun codes, and the sun reflects that back to us and through the solar flares, and helping the whole situation with the enclosure around the earth, so to speak, you know, with that, and having that start to dissolve and what I call cracking, to kind of bring us to the next level of awareness. So yeah, all these exciting things are going on, and this whole concept of this particular meteors, I never heard that before in my entire life. And and just think about it too, like in the past, like if you were in one of the meteor showers, you go outside at night, you'll see like a whoosh, like a streak here of the meteors. It was never like fireballs.
Yeah, that's what I've never seen a fireball until this year. It's not like a thing. And then here why are we seeing why? And you're saying why? Like, okay, what if Avaru or 3i Atlas, if whichever, is helping us look up, you know, feel the connection with the sky at this time, so that we actually connect, so that we're actually observing something that is observed through causal agency, where we're all connected as one. Yes. That's kind of huge. That's like a big message, and it ties in with that Hopi prophecy rock, and it just feels very hopeful for me for the future.
Yeah, and the other thing that's all related to this too is I talk about the original design, the original blueprint of Earth. I call it Terakai, and the whole Terakai starting to reveal itself, because there's another concept. One of the things I talk about, how when the moon was brought into Earth's orbit, you know, what would happen was it started to control humans on the earth, and brought in like I call it the false matrix overlay. And now it's all part of like everything that's dissolving.
Now you've got some backup here. If you want to cite sources, there are, I think, 3 different cultures that say that Earth didn't used to have a moon, and that when it came in, there was just this huge storming that was happening. It's like something pulled a moon in. They remember a time before the moon. So I'm just saying, yeah, this may sound nutty to some people that are just joining us right now, but I think it's the Zuni and a couple of other cultures. Somebody in Greece, there are like 3 of them that all independently confirm the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good.
And I go back to Star Wars and the famous line by Obi-Wan Kenobi when they were approaching the Death Star, like, that's no moon, it's a space station. So is it possible that the moon is not just a lonely pebble in the sky that rotates around the Earth, but is it possible that there's more involved than that? And that's we can go deep into that part of it too. But what really is the moon? How did it get placed in its exact position with its exact size to cause like eclipses and so forth? There's just like thing after thing after thing, so that a reasoning, logical person would know that it's not what modern science is telling us what it is. And there's more to it. It may be, could it be a control mechanism? And could it be something that may not have the power that it had before? We shall see, but it has power over us because we're mostly water, right? And the moon affects the tides, it affects us. On full moons, people are like, oh, they go loony. I call the moon loony, sometimes loopy. There's the whole concept of like the reincarnation cycle. I see people go into the light when they die. And I get into all this in my Substacks. And I just want to encourage people, like, if you want to just give it a chance, at least listen to it, because I try to make it funny all the way through. So I'm hoping that people, if you get through the first one, and I talk about what happened like with Buzz Aldrin when they went on the moon, and there's this whole, and I'm sure our audience is very, very mixed. Some either like believe in the moon landing, and some believe that no, it never happened. It was a complete fake. And then I'm actually in the middle. I say you're both right. And then I explain that in my Substacks as well, that so the part of the Saturn moon matrix, and it's losing control, and the sun becoming the source that it was before, and how we're going to co-create with that source of light. So I go deep in all these things, and to me, I get so excited about it. It's really like, I think the future is going to be amazing. It's not going to be what we expect necessarily.
Yeah, what do you think is coming for the rest of this year? You've got some good insights from watching the movie that you mentioned with the moon-faced girl, and apparently a lot of that was happening this month. But anything that you can see coming in 2026?
Yeah, when I look into my crystal ball, a lot of it too is like, okay, do I want to know? Do I really want to know what the future is going to hold over like the next 9 or 12 months, or do I want to like be part of like the show, like you're watching a movie and you're not quite sure what's going to happen next. But if you have the whole plot in front of you, it's like, oh, I knew this was going to happen. And so for a lot of it, I want to be surprised. I want to see what happens next. And a lot of it depends on us and our point of view and our positivity. And thinking dark and World War III destruction and horrible things happening with the sun and humans going underground, and like, I think you could literally like vibrate yourself into that timeline. Yeah. Versus I
can agree with that, because I'm personally noticing, I don't want to go into the nitty gritty of what's going on in my personal, where I live and so forth, but things can get depressing in politics right where you are. But you know what, just what you're saying, I just want to say a big hearty yes. Listen to Chris, because that's it. Just stay the course. Stay positive. If you get an inspiration to do something, even if it seems nutty, like, why am I doing this? But it's like, there's no harm done. I guess I'll do this. Do that, because you may be the little spark that lights something else on fire, that corrects everything that was way off course. And it happens a lot more than you might realize. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah. And thank you. And a lot of people are going through life changes as well, like old ways, old relationships, their jobs, like all these things are literally changing.
Yes.
And follow the clues. Like for me, I moved from the East Coast to Montana. Like that, like people don't just know. I mean, some people do that, but I wouldn't have done that before. But I kind of followed the clues that led me here. And it just feels so good for me.
Can you talk about that a little bit? I'm sure people are wondering, like, what inspired that?
Yeah. So, what inspired that is I was visiting some friends that live in Montana, more northern Montana. This was on my birthday a couple of years ago. And I was there for probably like a week and a half. And I'm like, I feel good. Like, I like this area. There were rainbows that were popping up. There was like all these things this is in December, so it was still like kind of wintry here. But I got to a point where I'm like, this is some place that I really want to move. I feel good being here. And I feel like I could go through these upgrades, so to speak, without all the noise of the East Coast and all the wireless signals and congestion and people that, this political group is so intense. They're having protests all the time. And then this other group is protesting against the protesters. And I just wanted to have like more peace. Yeah. So then I was starting to, so I go to Montana. I love it. I start doing more work related to the reality, especially things related to Mary Magdalene and that whole concept, and how the reflection was the Pyrenees Mountains in France are like a connection to not just the Mary Magdalene energy, but the Cathar energy as well.
Wow.
And how, like, just the way this reality works, there's a lot of areas that kind of mirror each other. Like, why does this area feel so much like this area? And I feel like this area is like the next kind of wave for like awakening. And even though the church tried to completely wipe the Cathars off the map, burning their writings, killing the people and so forth, I feel that energy crossed the ocean, so to speak, and settled here. and I could hear it in the wind. I literally could hear it in the wind. It's crazy. Like it's in a good way crazy. So
I think that there's a song, isn't there, by Heart or something? Mistral, Mistral, Mistral wind. I
don't
remember
know,
it.
Now
I think so.
Now I have
Yeah,
to
it's like a rock ballad from the 1970s. I'm dating myself, but
no date yourself. I'm there too.
yeah.
So
Oh gosh.
yeah, so that's a
that's-
little bit of that, and then
Thank you.
everything fell into place. Everything
Yeah.
literally fell into place. So
Beautiful. Well, it sure is wonderful catching up with you today, and maybe we'll do this again. But in the meantime, I'm just going to keep following what you're putting out there. I love the Substack and really appreciate your support for my Substack. And
I love your Substack. I love this. Do we talk about the squeaky cartwheels?
Oh my gosh.
That
Okay,
was,
we'll close out. Let's close out with that one. Oh my gosh. Well, you can start it. You introduced it.
Yes. So like when I was reading that last Substack you put out, a lot of it was about different timelines and how we can experience the different timelines. And the story of a woman, I think she tried to take her husband to the hospital, to the emergency room. Go to who wants to go to the emergency room? It's
10
like
o'clock at night. 10 o'clock at night too. It's like
it's like crazy. You got to like wait and wait and wait. And
well, she was trying. She just realized I'm going to drop you off because the parking lot's full. Remember? So
ooh, that's a good point too.
I'm laughing because it gets funny later.
Yeah, no. Tell the rest of the story.
Okay. So she drops him off. She says, "I'll join you in a minute. You go on in. It could take a while." So she parks, goes in, and wow, he's already been kind of admitted, and he's moving right through the process. Filled out some forms already. See, the place seems pretty empty. She's surprised, and they in the process of getting processed, they come into some sort of a circular central area with 9 rooms or so. They're the only one. They can see into the other rooms, and they're the only ones there, plus somebody in another room, and otherwise, the place is completely empty. But all the medical staff keep saying, "How long did you have to wait? Wow, it's crowded tonight." And it was very confusing the first time someone said that, and it just got more so as it seemed like every medical personnel would say something like that to them. Meanwhile, the only other occupied room was from someone who got admitted and then was somehow instantly hooked up to an IV. Like, how did that happen so fast? Like she was admitted and whoops, she's all hooked up. So it just seemed like there was like some time warp going on, and there was a big obvious difference because the medical staff were so convinced that this hospital was like overflowing with people, which the parking lot would seem to suggest was true. However, the reality of being in that ER room for the person that wrote to me was it was pretty empty. And even when they were being discharged from the ER, the people were asking, how long did the whole thing take, as if it would spent all day or something. And I think the whole thing was just like 2 hours, and COVID diagnosis, we're going back home. It's pretty easy. But even then they were saying like, wow, what a horribly long process. Like it wasn't that bad. Whole thing was pretty quick.
Yeah. And the whole woman with the cart with the squeaky wheels. Yeah.
Sorry. I left that part out. Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, no, I thought that was hysterical because wasn't she saying like she was saying something to indicate that the hospital was really full.
Yeah.
But they were like, "What are you talking about? Like, there's nobody here." And they got right into their room right away, and then they were discharged. But
yes.
And if someone reads that we'll put that link as well to your Substack because it really is fascinating and funny at the same time.
It is. And then the comments just exploded on that video where people were saying, that happened to me too. I've been experiencing this. And you put that so well, what it's like to walk through the two worlds, like the Hopi Prophecy Rock is talking about. Like, is that what it's like to walk through two realities?
Oh, now that you say that, that reminds me of an experience I had here in Montana. So there's this, because you move into new areas, you want to get set up with a new bank and all that. So there's a bank out here called Farmers Bank or something like that. So I went there's a branch near the town that I live in. So I go there. The parking lot was filled with cars. And it was like it's a big structure. It's a big bank. So I walk inside there. There's nobody around. There's just one teller. And she's like, "I'm really sorry. I'm the only person that's here." And I'm like, where is everybody? Like there's all these cars in the parking lot. You'd at least expect to see somebody walking around. And It's
Yeah.
almost like the Matrix didn't catch up to me walking in there.
Mm.
And then I went in there again, and of course, same amount of cars, and it's filled with people and long lines at the drive-through. And I'm like, this is really interesting. But whatever timeline you walk into, like you could have
Right.
different results from what you expect them to be. Yeah.
Did you notice what mood you were in or mental state? Because sometimes that seems to be a factor.
Yeah, I mean, I was in a good mental state.
Both times.
Nothing negative at all. You know,
So no real difference between either one. Yeah.
Yeah, and just kind of exploring the area. And I'm like, oh, I got to set up a bank account. Let me go here. This seems to be the bank everyone's at. And you walk into this huge building, and it's all open. It's not like people were hiding in their offices, because the whole first floor is open, and you could see all the second floor and offices there.
Wow.
See, there was nobody, like literally there was no one, there was no one around. And then I went back like a week later, and it was packed with people. So, and I had to wait at the drive-through. It took me some time. So
yeah, interesting.
What's going on with that?
I don't know, but I think we're going to see more of that too, as well as perhaps doppelgangers. So
yes,
yeah,
yes. And if anyone remembers me being like a singer, let me know, because I'm online. That's a fun one for me.
We're going to lock that one in for you. Excellent. Well, thanks so much for this conversation. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground, and good to have this conversation again. Good to find out how you're doing. And I'm so glad you're doing so well. And
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're sharing.
Yeah. And if anyone wants us to do another, like have one of these conversations, one of these catch-up calls, leave a comment below, give us a thumbs up, let us know that you're interested, because Cynthia and I, we like doing this, right? This is our
thing. Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. And I've got a feeling there's going to be a lot more to come in days ahead. It just seems like things more and more keeps happening.
Yeah, and if there's some big event that pops up, we can come on and talk about it and give our different viewpoints of what it might be. And I think people will be encouraged at the very least.
Yes,
the way we both tune into things.
I think so too. Well, love you so much, Chris, and
love you too.
Glad. Yeah, take good care, and
you too.
Catch you next time.
Next time.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
Bye for now.
Nice to be here.